A quick thank you to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, Duck Machine, Try Again 95, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Budic Joel, Germanchemist, Casper Arnholtz, and Chaos to Must. Thank you very much. Story number 1. From the Children of Planet Earth, written by Original Rich Game. We all hid from the Devourers, destroyer of worlds. Luckily for us, they couldn't see, or at least their ships couldn't. They went about scanning for communications between planets. Once found, they attacked by pinging communications between ships and, eventually, mined a world for all its resources until it was barren and dead. Stories about the history before the Devourers were amazing. Meeting other species, horrific wars, but amazing advancements in science and technology. Now, it all stagnated. We still operated along outdated communications equipment in case someone out there stated that the Devourers were gone or that they had been defeated. That was why we were surprised when we found a message by a group we didn't even know existed. Indeed, it only made sense that there would be a race out there that we didn't know existed, but the fact was that they were still trying to fight others. The message stated, "Hello, this is a message from the children of the planet of Earth. We have many questions for those who are out there, if they even exist. Do you exist? Do you think and feel like us? Are you planning the conquest of all others, or planning love for all others? Would you even recognize us as sentient? Would you even welcome us? Would you even talk with us? Are we alone?" That was amazing. So many questions in one communication when they didn't even know that it would be answered. We felt pity for them. They wanted what we once had, but they could never have it. We broke our one rule and communicated with them. "Do you want to be eaten? Shut that off." They must have been terrified. Was that a threat or a warning meant to save them from those who would destroy them? "Greetings once again from planet Earth." They started again. Did they not hear us? But then we realized, from planet Earth, not children of planet Earth. They heard us all right. They just weren't afraid of the monsters from the dark. "We want to know more about you. Who are you? Are you like us, also magnificently different that we couldn't even imagine? Where are you?" We are at... Well, they were dead. They just stated exactly where they were. Then we heard the message. "We are coming. We are coming. We are coming." I'd repeat. The humans seemed to have got that they were not us, and that they were the enemy. We tracked the fleet of Devourers come near us, but miss us. Thank God they didn't hear us. But the children of the planet Earth were dead. They seemed to know it. They constantly asked us for help, but we shrank back in fear. We avidly listened into the battle, picking up orders from both sides. The fighting seemed fierce. The humans had primitive weapons, but in such vast quantities, they were able to do serious damage to the Devourers. Years passed, and we didn't hear anything from them. Gone, like so many others. But then we heard the message of hope from the darkness after 2 years of silence. "We are the children of the planet Earth. We will not be defeated and will continue to push back. We invite all to join us to answer our new question. Are we the only ones left, or are we entirely alone out here now?" End of story. Story number 2. On the battlefield, there be monsters of metal. Written by Original Rich Game. War. Glorious war. We fought humans on many worlds and slaughtered them. They were weak. They were easy to pierce, as their soft flesh was like that of a newborn, and they had no natural defense. Indeed, offensive weapons such as claws or tusks. By all logic, they shouldn't even have survived their species' infancy. I recall from many moons ago when I fought my first humans. The first ones in some sort of combat gear which did, to its credit, blend into the desert sands. Well, but offered no real protection. The only part we didn't hit were their heads, for their helmets would splinter and crunch and would take far too long for us to remove our razor-sharp claws from. He screamed in pain once I punctured his lowest section of his torso. Weakling, I decided to claim my prize. Using one of my sharper manipulators, I jabbed into his shoulder. There was a lot of bone there, and it felt a satisfying crunch as I felt the bone collapse. I lifted him up as I grabbed his shoulder and ripped off his legs. They tasted glorious. I threw him on the ground and let him bleed out. He was as good as dead. He was still groaning, a miracle to be sure, but he would be dead soon enough. The war went on. We fired weapons at each other, hurling plasma into each other's side. Some of the humans had common sense enough to hide in heavily armored vehicles, which couldn't be destroyed by us without the use of heavy guns. I slew many humans on that desert world, the air splitting with the sound of 1,000 screams. We marched on and took that planet. Our casualties against the human were light, whilst theirs seemed numerous. Our fleets were in different positions, however. Humans had been on the galactic stage for a good few centuries now, and their tech was magnificent, and their ships terrifying. The only reason we could withstand their ships was the fact that we had so many ships to throw at them. But we stood firm and advanced. We battled humans amongst the stars and butchered them on the desert sands and the lush fields. Then we reached the Alpha Centauri system. Things changed once that battle commenced. We landed on the planet. No humans in sight. Then we saw the human ships inside the atmosphere, and we saw pods shoot out of the ships, and then cracks like primitive gunshots could be heard on the surface. Then we saw them. Monsters of flesh and metal. We thought them to be the humans' mech suits, a new technology they introduced. But then we saw that it was humans, not suits. They had changed themselves, melted metal onto their skin, removed their eyes out, and replaced them with scopes for weapons. We didn't kill the humans. We thought we had, but we hadn't. In our blind fury, we had dismantled humans so that they could evolve themselves. Where they once ran slower than us, they were now faster than our vehicles. Where they once had flesh so easy to rip, they now had skins of impenetrable steel. Where they once couldn't even squeeze our arms, they could now rip them off in one fluid motion. They were monsters, glimmering in death on the battlefield, standing like gods. We used to battle humans amongst the stars and on planets. Now the humans battle us amongst the stars and slaughter us on planets of white desert sands and lush green fields. We fell back. For the first time in our species' history, we fell back, surrendered in masses, and gave up worlds in dozens without so much as a fight. We still found some of the normal, weak humans, but now we made sure that they were dead. We would remove heads and hearts, become doctors of the battlefield, but not to help the injured, no, to kill the injured. Doctors of death were what we became known as. What on the 3 moons could create monsters of metal and flesh? What could make itself evolve from the brink of death to an unstoppable war machines? Then I saw him, the human I thought I'd left for dead. He had new legs with a razor weapon strapped to them, a new arm with no hand but a large gun instead. He charged at me. I am ashamed to say I dropped everything and ran for it. However, I quickly felt the air kicked out of me as I fell to the ground. I turned around and saw him, his metal gleaming in the light of twin suns, and an animal grin of superiority on his facial features, as if he knew then and there that he could end the life of the person who put this torment on him. But he didn't. "You bugger," he said, laughing. "It's you!" I thought it was over. He had recognized me, and I was going to die so that he could have revenge. But I didn't die. I felt him lift me up as I was a doll and virtually drag me away. I was so stunned I didn't even struggle. The battle, I saw, was over. I was one of the last fighting, and he was there to mop up the last of us. I was thrown onto a seat on a human dropship and restrained. He sat in front of me and grinned as I saw his gun had morphed into a hand. Nanotechnology. Impossible. You little bugger, you owe me a drink," he said, grinning as the dropship kicked off the planet and into orbit. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope